I was in my restaurant kitchen, hands dusted with flour and the aroma of garlic filling the air, when I noticed my brother strolling in through the front door with three sharply dressed strangers. "Scarlett, meet the franchise experts," he said, flashing that irritatingly confident grin. "They're here to show you how to run this place properly." My fingers froze around the chef's knife. What he didn't know was who was already sitting at table 7. I'm Scarlett, 31 years old, and I've spent over 10 years climbing the culinary ladder. I've cooked in every environment you can imagine: corporate cafeterias, five-star hotels, and even a cramped food truck that smelled like fried onions 24/7 for 2 years straight. But my true dream was always to open my own farm-to-table restaurant, to create a space where fresh ingredients and honest cooking mattered more than flashy trends. It took years of saving every last penny, working double shifts, and living in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates just to make that dream a reality. My family? They thought I was completely nuts. While my siblings got family-funded head starts in practical careers like accounting or real estate, I got patronizing smiles and the occasional "that restaurant thing. You'll grow out of it." I was always the dreamer in the family, the one who had cute little fantasies that were never supposed to amount to anything. Everyone else's ambitions were celebrated, mine were jokes. But 2 years of planning had led me to this exact moment, my grand opening. I'd sent invitations to everyone I knew, hoping they'd come to see the culmination of everything I had poured my life into. I even hired extra staff because I was expecting my family to show up with friends to witness the achievement I had worked so hard for. Then the RSVPs started trickling in. Cousin Jenny's wedding got rescheduled. My mom texted, "Scarlett, you understand, right? Family weddings only happen once. The restaurant can wait." My sister called mid-prep. "I know it's your big night, but weddings are more important. You'll have other chances." One by one, my family bailed. Every single person who was supposed to be there for me chose a wedding over my life's work. I wanted to collapse, to cry right there on the kitchen floor, but the restaurant doors were opening and real customers were walking in. People who had seen my posts, who had read about my opening in the local paper, who genuinely cared about what I was doing. I put on my best professional smile and went to work. I explained my farm-to-table philosophy, suggested wine pairings, ensured every plate leaving my kitchen was flawless. And you know what? That night was magical. The restaurant was full. Guests snapped photos of their dishes, asked for my card, promised they'd return. A local food critic spent 20 minutes asking me about seasonal menu ideas and my sourcing choices. I went home that night exhausted, but proud. Maybe my family had missed it, but I hadn't. I had proved to myself that all the sacrifices, all the late nights, all the struggles had been worth it. The next morning, I arrived early to prepare for lunch service, still savoring the success of the previous night, when the chime of the front door made me glance up. And there they were, my entire family. Every single one. Only they weren't alone. Behind them walked 3 impeccably dressed professionals, carrying briefcases and digital tablets. My brother stepped forward, beaming. "Scarlett, I want you to meet some very important people. These are franchise consultants, experts who specialize in scaling restaurants. We thought you'd need professional guidance after your opening." I stood frozen in my apron, still holding a prep knife, the room suddenly feeling smaller. Within minutes, my dining room had been transformed into some kind of intervention. My family sat at my best table as though it were theirs, while the consultants laid out charts, spreadsheets, and contracts. "Scarlett, have a seat," my father said, gesturing like I was a child. "We need to talk seriously about your future." The lead consultant, a woman with impeccably styled hair and a practiced smile, spoke next. "We've reviewed your concept. While charming, running a restaurant is incredibly challenging. Most independent establishments don't survive their first year." "I'm not failing," I said, my voice quieter than I wanted, but steady. "Last night was a full house. Guests loved it. The critic was impressed. The restaurant was a success." My sister laughed. "One good night doesn't mean anything, Scarlett. Be realistic." "That's exactly why we're here," my brother added, eyes shining with a smug kind of pride. "You're fantastic in the kitchen, but the business side, marketing, operations, management, that's a whole other game." And that's when it hit me. They hadn't come to celebrate. They came to control. I was standing in my kitchen, hands hovering over a chef's knife, when the door opened and my brother walked in with three sharply dressed strangers. Scarlett, meet the franchise experts, he announced with a grin. They're here to help you run this place properly. My heart sank. I didn't move. The lead consultant nodded, as if she could sense my unease. We're proposing a partnership, she began. You'd remain the head chef, of course, but we'd handle the business side, management, expansion, franchising, proper systems. Everything so you can focus on your cooking. I felt a cold knot settle in my stomach. You want to turn my restaurant into a franchise? My mother's voice dripped with sweetness. We just want to help you succeed. This way you can concentrate on what you love and leave the grown-up stuff to people who actually know business. I blinked. Grown-up stuff? I was 12 when I played restaurant in the backyard. And now, suddenly, it's all about business. One of the consultants leaned in. Farm-to-table concepts are incredibly popular right now. With the right approach, you could have 3 locations open in 18 months. My family nodded along, treating this as if it were the most reasonable, obvious plan in the world, like they hadn't ignored my opening night and then tried to hand my dream over to strangers the very next morning. I need time to think, I said quietly. Of course, the lead consultant replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. But we do need to move quickly. There's an investor meeting tomorrow afternoon. Right here. We've already coordinated with the local food bloggers and the business journal. It's a prime publicity opportunity. You scheduled what? My voice trembled. A small media event, my brother waved dismissively. Nothing big. Just to announce the transition to professional management while you're opening. Buzz is still fresh. I stared at them, my mind spinning. They'd orchestrated this whole thing. Skipped my opening, then swooped in the next day with a pre-packaged rescue plan, treating me like an incapable child. But as I listened to them outline their timeline and franchise model, something shifted inside me. Their talk of realism and grown-up decisions ignited a fire rather than fear. I started asking questions, jotting down notes, even recording the discussion on my phone under the guise of needing to review it later. What they didn't realize was that I had long ago learned to document everything when people underestimated me. That night, after their smug smiles had faded and their promises hung in the air, I stayed behind in the kitchen, not chopping vegetables or scrubbing pans, but typing away on my laptop the way I had in secret for 3 years. I had been running one of the most influential anonymous food blogs in the country, The Honest Plate. Over 200,000 followers, a waiting list of restaurants begging for reviews. Food Network producers kept tabs on my posts, and James Beard award-winning chefs cited my articles. All the scornful remarks from my family, the eye rolls, the dismissive laughter, the unrealistic dreams, I had turned them into stories. Not bitter complaints, but raw, truthful narratives about what it's like when the people closest to you try to clip your wings. My phone buzzed. A message from Chef Rodriguez, my mentor from culinary school, now one of the most respected chefs on the West Coast. Saw your opening pics on social media. The plating is incredible. Can we talk tomorrow? I have news that might interest you. I smiled for the first time that day. Rodriguez had been quietly following my blog for months, commenting on how The Honest Plate captured the real struggles of chefs in a corporate food world. He didn't know I was Scarlett, but he appreciated my voice. The next morning, he called while I was checking inventory. Scarlett, I've been dining at your restaurant incognito, he said without preamble. Your technique is flawless, but more than that, your personality shines through every dish. You remind me of a food blogger I follow, The Honest Plate. Ever heard of them? My heart pounded. I nodded, trying to steady my voice. I'm launching a new show, Hidden Culinary Gems, and your restaurant is exactly what I'm looking for. Interested? I nearly dropped the phone. Rodriguez had a Food Network show, 3 James Beard Awards, and restaurants across 5 major cities. Are you serious? I managed. Dead serious, he replied. I was going to reach out today, but then I heard about your family drama. Want to fill me in? I told him everything. The missed opening, the franchise ambush, the media stunt my family had scheduled without my consent. There was a pause on the other end. Then Rodriguez spoke, quiet but firm. Those vultures have no idea who they're messing with. Trust me, let them put on their little show tomorrow. I'll be there. And for the first time in days, I felt calm. My family thought they were orchestrating my failure, but they didn't realize who I really was and how ready I was to fight for my dream. They were already acting like they owned the place. My brother kept stopping by, dragging along potential investors for casual tours. My sister couldn't resist posting on social media about the big family business developments. My father even had the audacity to tell one of our regular customers that the restaurant would soon be under professional management. Finally, some adults are taking charge of this little hobby, he said loudly enough for me to hear from the kitchen. What they didn't realize was that their arrogance had set the stage for the biggest shock of their lives. I had been quietly preparing for this moment for years, and the day had finally arrived. The following afternoon, the dining room was packed. Food bloggers, local restaurateurs, reporters from the Business Journal, basically half the city had shown up. My brother was at the front, playing the role of master of ceremonies, with the franchise consultants flanking him, armed with presentation materials. I noticed Chef Rodriguez sitting unobtrusively at table 7, just another face in the crowd. He caught my eye and gave a subtle nod, a silent signal that he was in on it. "Thank you all for coming," my brother began, his voice dripping with the overconfident authority he had honed in college. "We have some exciting news about this restaurant. While my sister Scarlett has done an admirable job getting this place started, we've realized that professional management is needed to truly make this business thrive." The lead consultant stepped forward, flashing her polished smile. "We are delighted to announce that this charming restaurant will transition into our proven franchise model, ensuring proper business oversight and scalable growth." I watched the crowd's reactions. Some faces showed confusion, others discomfort. This wasn't the celebration they had expected. "Of course, we will be keeping Scarlett in her head chef role," my sister added sweetly. "She is talented in the kitchen, though business management is not her strength." Then Chef Rodriguez stood. Every eye in the room turned toward him. Recognition flickered across several faces, and the food bloggers began whispering with excitement. "Excuse me," Rodriguez said, his voice slicing through the murmurs. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm Chef Rodriguez, and I'm actually here with an announcement of my own." My brother paled. Who are you?" "I am the host of Food Network's upcoming series Hidden Culinary Gems, and this restaurant will be featured in our premiere episode next month." Whispers erupted across the room. Phones and cameras immediately came out, but Rodriguez wasn't finished. "I'm also here to recognize the true owner of this restaurant. Scarlett isn't just a gifted chef. She is the brilliant mind behind The Honest Plate, one of the most influential food blogs in the country." Gasps filled the room. Several food bloggers actually stood up, murmuring to one another in disbelief. I pulled out my phone and queued up a recording I had made the day before. My hands were steady. "Since we're making announcements," I said clearly, my voice carrying across the room, "let me share what my family truly thinks about my little hobby." The recording played. My mother's voice echoed. "This restaurant thing will be here tomorrow. Family weddings are once in a lifetime." Then my sister, "You're great at cooking, but business? That's not your thing. Your brother, leave the grown-up decisions to those who know business." The room fell into stunned silence. The franchise consultants scrambled, gathering their materials and practically running out, muttering about miscommunication and unprofessional circumstances. Chef Rodriguez grinned at the crowd. "This feature will air nationally next month. And this," he gestured toward me, "is exactly the authentic voice the food world needs more of." The business reporter, initially covering the franchise announcement, now had an entirely different story to write, one about family betrayal, talent, and resilience. Food bloggers began posting immediately, sharing the shocking revelation with their audiences. My phone buzzed nonstop with interview requests and collaboration offers. My family stood there, frozen, their plans in tatters. My mother tried to approach me, but I held up my hand. "You're not welcome here anymore," I said simply. "But Scarlett," my mother began. "No," I interrupted. "You weren't trying to help. You were trying to control something you never believed in. There's a difference." As they left, heads bowed. The weight of their doubt and negativity finally lifted from my shoulders. That evening, standing in my kitchen, I felt an unfamiliar but wonderful sensation, peace. Reservations were fully booked for the next 2 months. I realized something vital. The people who claim to love you can also be the ones trying hardest to limit your potential. Your dreams don't need approval from those who can't see your vision.